If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Weirding Way Media.
Night, Mr. Walters.
You see that guy over there? No, he's an actor. The guy on the phone? He's a prize fighter. Me? I'm a cab driver. I'm the only cab driver in this place.
Good evening and welcome to Night, Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. I'm HP, your co-host. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Father Malone. Father Malone, how are you this evening?
Gee, I wonder what it would be like if we didn't have to write 2 full episodes, but we got paid to do it.
This is Taxi Season 2, episodes 23 and 24. This is a two-parter called Fantasy Borough, parts 1 and 2. Hey, Father Malone, guess what? We've hit the end of Season 2.
Good God, man. It came quickly.
It really did. This whole season has really flown by. There's been some great episodes, some that maybe missed the mark a little bit, but here we are. Congratulations on another season down.
Congratulations.
Very happy.
To you, sir.
No.
I didn't think you had it in you, honestly.
Well, I proved you wrong, sucker. These episodes are written by Barry Kemp and directed by James Burrows. Reminder to everybody, we're doing these shows in broadcast order and not in order of filming. This is the final pickup episode from season 2. Just as a reminder to our listeners, these pickup shows are made up of smaller segments that are filmed typically after the audience has gone home as an economic way of saving money and time. Everything in these episodes, I think it's all canned laughter, basically. There's no audience in any of this.
How cheap was it for them to do this? Did they blow their budget elsewhere? And they were like, we got 2 more episodes and we got nothing. And they're like, well, we'll just do a bunch of skits, film it without the audience here.
From what I can judge from my research, as limited as it is, I think this is something they pre-planned. They baked into their season filming schedule. They said, we have this loose framework of an idea that we want to catch as we can, these little bits of filming. And then before you know it, they've got enough content for not 1, but 2 episodes. So it must have been pretty cost effective because they do it all the time.
Yeah.
We open for this episode in the garage as, again, Tony is excitedly running into the garage, just like he did.
Like a page boy, just like, extra. Here's what tonight's episode's about. You want your paper, mister?
He runs in and he tells the cabbies that he picked up none other than Hervé Villechaize in his cab.
God. So exciting.
He evidently left some publicity photos in his cab last night. So for the folks listening who may not remember or maybe weren't around, Hervé Villechaize was a little person who starred alongside Ricardo Montalban in the TV series Fantasy Island. Hervé played Mr. Rourke's assistant Tattoo, who would famously ring the bell and announce the plane, when that week's airplane of guest stars would arrive on the island. Did you watch Fantasy Island when you were a kid, Father Malone?
Religiously.
Me too.
Loved it. Mr. Rourke was an evil magician.
I didn't really pick up on that until I saw some of the episodes as an adult because
When he would do battle with other magicians on his island.
I don't remember any of those. He actually had duels with other magicians.
Yeah, man, he had powers and he showed them.
Well, I knew he had powers, but the whole notion.
Smiles. That's a command, everyone.
Every episode was basically a takeoff on the monkey's paw. Be careful what you wish for because it's not going to be all it's cracked up to be.
It's a great premise for a show, and they keep trying to do it.
Well, I really like I think the last time they tried this was maybe 2021, and they had a female
movie?
Mr. No, not the movie, not the horror movie.
Okay.
This was back in 2021 with Rosalind Sanchez as, I think she was meant to be Mr. Rourke's niece or somehow related to Mr. Rourke. But
So they were doing they're doing a sequel series, a legacy series.
Kind of, but they stuck very closely to the original premise. I thought it was good. I mean, it's disposable as, frankly, Fantasy Island, the original series, was disposable, but it was good. I thought it was good. But anyway,
I like that first reboot with Malcolm McDowell, the Barry Sonnenfeld version of Fantasy Island.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Rourke was like straight up Wonka sinister.
I think they're going to keep trying till they find something that'll stick.
Remember when they replaced Hervé Villechaize with Brock Toon?
It was not Brock Toon. It was an actress called Wendy Shaw who played.
I know who Wendy Shaw is, sure.
She was in The Burbs. I think she was a Joe Dante regular.
You're telling me there is not another guy who joined the show? Brock Toon did not join the show?
Christopher He did.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't know you meant literally Christopher Hewitt. I thought.
Yeah, man. And because the thing is, so the show very famously begins with Tattoo ringing the bell when he sees the airplane. When they finally fired Hervé Villechaize and brought on Christopher Hewitt, he would push a button. He would look, see the plane. He'd like look at his watch and push a button, and then the bell would ring. And I always thought that was such a cheat.
I thought you used the word Brock Toon as just a catch-all because you didn't know the woman's name. But yeah, he was on there. Mr. Belvedere. Christopher Hewitt did act on Fantasy Island.
Tattoo got split into two roles: Wendy Shaw and Christopher Hewitt.
They were on concurrently.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She'd be out and about with him on in the Jeep, and then Christopher Hewitt would be like near the compound, like, oh,
right.
Mr. Rogue, blah, blah, blah. I do all the officious shit.
Christopher Hewitt, this was in the time of TV infomercials when they were really, really popular and prevalent. And he did one for the sandwich maker that my brothers and I we just adored it because no one could sell the scrumptiousness of something made in this awful sandwich maker like Christopher Hewitt. He would say, "Ooh, sweet ambrosia." It was great. He was what a delight that guy was. Hervé Villechaize is going to, he leaves these pictures in the back of Tony's cab, and this is what is the springboard for the rest of these two episodes.
Wow, what a slight premise.
Very slight. This is the slightest. We've seen some of these pickup episodes in the past. This is probably, it's no exaggeration to say this might be the worst of the ones that we've seen and will eventually see. Louis takes an interest in this story about Hervé Villechaize and insists on he has his own impression of Tattoo, and it cracks him up to no end. It's basically him saying, "De plane." But
actually, can I just say, the very first line he does sounds remarkably like Hervé Villechaize. Once he gets to the plane part and everything afterwards, it's terrible. And when spoilers, when Hervé Villechaize shows up and he does it for him, also terrible. But there's the very first thing he says, I went, "Oh wow, that's really good."
When he says, "Hey boss, how are you, boss?" That you mean?
There's something in the timbre, the sort of sandpaper growl he gets right.
Fortunately, the rest of the cabbies agree that it's a terrible impression at best and offensive at worst. Bobby suggests to Tony that he get in touch with Hervé Villechaize to get his pictures back or give his pictures back. Tony knows he's at the Plaza Hotel because
I think I left him at the plaza. Oh, hey.
the last couple episodes, Father Malone, you're really going after Tony in a way that
Sick
you
of Tony.
didn't.
I'm over Tony now.
Wow.
Season 3, he better come back strong.
I don't know. This was not a good season for Tony. He's got the whole Tony and Brian thing, which really went nowhere.
I blame
Too much
Brian. I blame Brian for my turning on Tony. Fair. That's what I said.
Tony, like I said, he goes to call at the phone in the middle of the garage to get in touch with Hervé Villechaize. Side note, by the way, we were talking about Bobby, what he was wearing in the last episode. In this episode, he's dressed like a greaser. Did you notice this? He's got a blue shirt with the sleeves rolled all the way up to his shoulders. The only thing missing is a pack of Marlboro Reds rolled up in the sleeve.
Well, he had just come from an audition to get his part back from Greece. And they said, just get out there, Conway.
Yeah, get out there, Conway. Come on. Tony leaves his number for Villechaize to call him back. In the meantime, a curious Latka asks about the show Fantasy Island because they don't have it back in his home country.
Oh, no.
And this puts the cabbies in a reflective mood, Father Malone.
Oh, my, doesn't it?
About what their fantasy might be.
The kind of reflection that only happens on sitcoms and
Pretty
sometimes
much.
horror anthology movies. What do you dream about? I have the worst nightmare.
Tony is the first to volunteer what his fantasy is. But they all think that he dreams of being the world champion boxer. But it turns out, Father Malone, his fantasy is much different and much worse, as it turns out. Bear in mind, it takes about 15 or 10 minutes, let's say, to get through this scene. I'm going to summarize it for you. It felt like longer. It did. Tony is in his cab. He picks up Eric Severide at night. Now, who is Eric Severide, you ask? Do you know who Eric Severide was?
No.
You don't remember Eric Severide? Eric Severide was a real-life journalist, distinguished journalist. He reported for CBS from 1939, Father Malone, to 1977. He made his name as a World War II correspondent. Severide's attending the GOSG, the Gathering of Smart Guys at NYU. In conversation with Severide, Tony wins him over with his simplistic views on war. He suggests the world leaders put on boxing gloves and go a few rounds to settle their differences. And this impresses Severide to no end. He's impressed by Tony's perspective and suggests that Tony would fit right in with the GOSG. Furthermore, Severide wants Tony on his side of the debate. End of fantasy. That's it.
It's being there with a palooka.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Not many laughs to be had.
Not any laughs to be had. And why is it just happening in the back of a cab? That's his fantasy. That's the limit of his fantasy. Shouldn't he be like giving a lecture or something, or like, attending a lecture and going, no, you're doing that all wrong. You know what I think of sometimes? You know what I would think of in this scenario, HB?
Yeah.
Do you remember the computer wore tennis shoes?
With Kurt Russell? Yeah, of course.
At one point, Dexter Stanley, I can't believe I'm talking about this. Dexter Stanley is watching a man cut a diamond from a raw diamond, and the guy has it lined up and he's about to tap it. And Dexter Stanley goes, no, no, no. And he goes and he changes the guy's angle. And then the guy very, very furiously goes back to the original thing, and he shatters the entire thing and destroys it. That's what I think of when I think of people thinking of smart scenarios. It doesn't involve just having a conversation with a journalist and them going, you really are smart. But maybe it's Tony's limited. Is that what I'm supposed to take from this?
If we're looking at this logically or semi-realistically, I think it's a reflection of Tony's limited imagination. He's such a palooka. He has such a lack of vision and imagination that this is the best he can come up with. So I'm not surprised by that part of it. I just thought it was dull. And it really didn't. It was a one joke premise that never goes anywhere.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't need to take us down Kurt Russell Disney movie lane, but this episode's garbage.
It really is bad. And this is one of the worst. I mean, there's not much to recommend here, but This was not a very good vignette within this episode. Doesn't bode well for the rest of the episode or episodes two-parter. Next up, we have Laka's fantasy, which is initially it's interrupted by Louis haranguing him about getting back to work.
I like that part actually because he's like, "Oh, I have a fantasy. I have a fantasy that all the cabs get fixed." It's like the only true part of the episode.
Laka's fantasy is very rote. It's basically that he is the dispatcher. He's Louis effectively. He's wearing the same outfit that Louis wears. He's ruling the garage with an iron fist, and he has several beautiful women in his cage waiting for him. So he hands out the cab assignments. Side note, Father Malone, did you see who the first cab assignment went to? I was so excited.
I did not. I now feel deficient HP.
The first cabbie he announces is none other than Ben Goretzky, the shop steward of Sunshine Cab.
Oh my God, back from the dead.
Yeah, well,
Oh, this is a fantasy.
This is a fantasy, so I can't get that excited. But someone actually, there was an actor portraying Ben Goretzky. I was delighted.
The ghost of Ben Goretzky. This is what I'm saying. These are fantasy sequences, and they just keep giving us mundane shit. Like now, Latka's dressed like Louis, and vice versa. Okay.
There's
Remember
not a
that
lot
movie,
of
White Man's Burden with John Travolta, where it was like, what if black people were the ruling class and white people were the minority, and we'll change nothing at all. Everything will be exactly the same. It's just we'll change that one thing. No, that's not how it would work.
They're going for the most basic, the most obvious sort of fantasies in some cases. This one, there's nothing creative about it at all. Laka just got done getting hassled by Louis. So of course his fantasy is, well, I'll be Louis and I will take it out on Louis. Louis is effectively Laka here. He's wearing the coveralls. He's the mechanic. He fails to repair Tony's cab. Laka angrily calls for him to be basically put before a firing squad. And there's a 1, 2, 3. The firing squad executes him, but we cut back to him getting still hassled by Louis. End of fantasy, cut to commercial.
And the one bit I liked is Alex saying he deserves the last cigarette, and then he puts a cigarette in his mouth and he goes, he doesn't smoke.
See, I would normally like that too, but it's played so exaggerated.
Oh my God, that's what I liked about it, because this
Did
is
you?
fantasy, and a firing squad just came in, and it's like, yeah, get cuckoo. Like, I don't understand why they weren't going nuts in this episode. They're saying to, what is your fantasy? First of all, if these are these people's actual fantasies, HP, then I'm going to stop watching this show because these characters don't deserve my time.
We cut back from commercial. Tony gets a call back from Hervé Villechaize. After some conversation, Hervé says he's going to come down to the garage personally to get the pictures. He's a man of the people, Father Malone. He's not some highfalutin TV actor. You know, give him credit.
Hey, what station is Fantasy Island on?
I think they were on ABC, right?
Of course, Fantasy Island was. Yeah.
Louis gets upset that Banta isn't going to charge a reward for the pictures. But anyway, Louis insists he's going to do his awful impression for Hervé Villechaize, much to the rest of the cabbies' chagrin. The cabbies appreciate how down to earth Hervé is, coming down to the garage and all. Bobby insists that that's the way he's going to be when he hits it big. And then we cut to Bobby's fantasy. Let's get into this, Father Malone. You can't see this, folks. Father Malone, it's as if Father Malone just got a migraine. He just got the look on his face like, oh, we're going to get into this. So we cut to Mario's, where there's a shot of a TV, and the TV announces a performance by the, quote, famous singer Bobby Wheeler.
It's the famous singer Bobby Wheeler. You know how they introduce people in showbiz.
Of course. What transpires is footage of Conaway singing a song from his album. This is an actual song on his solo album called City Boy, while stock audience footage from a big concert is cut in to make it look like he's performed. It's all very unbelievable, and it doesn't look good, doesn't look realistic.
And they keep cutting to Mario's, where the Martian Manhunter is front and center dancing to this. Did you notice that?
No.
Carl Lumley, who has been the voice of Martian Manhunter for Justice League on all these years, and was just recently on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Isaiah, what's his last name? The character who was also given the super soldier serum but kept under wraps by the United States government. That Carl Lumley, he's in fucking Mario's watching that TV and dancing. By dancing, I mean kind of bouncing up and down.
I didn't notice that it was Carl Lumley. I remember him from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's actually in the new Captain America movie too. He's going to be in that as well.
Well, you can see him here first, folks.
So yeah, there's a crowd of people in Mario's. I should mention that they're all watching this performance, and they couldn't be more delighted or more into the performance than they are. Like, to your point, this guy's dancing around, herky jerky. Everyone's enjoying it.
Wait, this was a song that Jeff Conaway was actually putting out?
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought this was a song that they just did on the show for him for this sequence. It's terrible.
This was an actual single put out by the actual person, Jeff Conaway. But it's terrible.
Shocking.
But you have to see the visual of Conaway up there performing. He's head to toe in this silver sparkling outfit. It's not a jumpsuit because there's a shirt and there's pants, but they're both silver and sparkling and just sending off reflections everywhere. He's quite the sight.
Silver lame.
Very silver. It looks like something Elvis might have worn. Silver lame, exactly. The crowd, as you said in Mario's, they're all clamoring for this performance, except for one bummy looking guy who's face down at the bar. And as he picks up his face, it comes out of his stupor and looks at the TV. It's Louis. It's this alternate version of Louis where he's gone to seed. He looks like a hobo. He's got this rumpled hat and jacket. He just looks a mess, right? 5 o'clock shadow.
Stumblebum Louis.
Stumblebum Louis, exactly. He's, like I said, he's roused from his stupor by the performance on TV, and he recognizes Wheeler and another barfly who's actually very mean to Louis through this whole sequence. He tells him, he's like, well, of course it's Jeff. Of course it's Bobby Wheeler. This is the 7th time they've run this special, which is interesting in and of itself. By the way, this guy, this sort of cruel barfly, you probably didn't notice this. He had the largest Italian horn around his neck that I've ever seen. This thing was like 3 inches long. I've never seen a bigger Italian horn than this. Did you notice that?
No, but then I grew up in Revere.
Dun, 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 dun. Vaudeville.
Revere.
Louis starts to drunkenly tell the other patrons he knew Wheeler. He used to work for him. What is kind of stunning about this whole thing, Father Malone, it goes from fantasy to nightmare because through this whole sequence, this song just plays and plays and plays. It's not as if they just kind of cut in and it's one verse and then you have the rest of the scene play out. This song is running nonstop through the whole. So it's effectively like the 4 or 5 minutes for the scene. This song never stops.
Well, it's as Stephen King said, hell is repetition.
Pretty much. Just at that point, the real Bobby Wheeler comes waltzing into Mario's. It looks like he's wearing Adam Sandler's Opera Man costume. It's a tuxedo, but he's got like it's not just a tuxedo, it's a little frilly, and he has like a cape with red on the underside of it. That it's totally Opera Man.
Yeah, that I didn't make that connection. I just thought he was trying to be stylish, 70s stylish, but now the connection is evident.
Yeah, watch it again. It's totally
I am
Opera
not
Man.
going to watch this again.
No. The barflies go nuts when Wheeler walks in, and Louis tells them drunkenly he'll prove that he knows Bobby. But no one believes him. This cruel guy with the Italian horn is just, he dismisses him outright. Bobby takes Louis aside and tells him it'll cost them $1 to tell people that he knows Louis.
Oh, sweet revenge. Twice now, sweet revenge. My fantasies, they all involve everyone here. It all involves torturing Louis.
Louis pays up. This is like his last dollar. He's got to retrieve it from his sock. It's rolled up, and it's $1 that he has left to his name. And he gives it to Wheeler, who promptly insists that he's never saw this guy before. And he proceeds to buy drinks. Bobby buys drinks for the rest of the bar, leaving the bum Louis on the outside looking in. Louis drinks a leftover beer as City Boy continues to play End of Fantasy, everybody. The only thing that I found a little chilling about this
A
is
little?
a little is through all of this, through Louis insisting that he knows Bobby and like the sadness of his situation, there's no laughter. There's no canned laughter. There's no indication that we should find this funny in the least. I found it actually rather depressing to see Louis in this state and to see how cruelly, no matter how much of a monster he might have been in the regular timeline, let's say, they're so cruel to him, Father Malone, and it's so sad. That was my takeaway. What was your takeaway?
HP, over on my show Midnight Viewing, we do horror anthologies, and this segment of this episode, which this is an anthology, by the way.
Yeah.
This particular segment really reminded me of Night Gallery, because this is Bobby's fantasy, right? In effect, his version of heaven. His version of heaven is Louis's hell, which is a metaphysical conundrum that this show does not deserve to bring up, at least not this episode.
It's a little heavy for such a light sitcom. I don't know. There was something about it that didn't sit well with me, and I was rather chilled by it. So yeah, I think we
that's
both,
because it's two in a row now where the someone's greatest fantasy is about punching down on Louis. And I know Louis sucks. You know, if you had to deal with Louis, it would be awful. But if somebody said to me or you or whoever, what is your greatest fantasy? If that character's fantasy is just revenge and petty revenge at that, these fantasies are making me like our characters less. They should strike this entire both episodes.
it's very petty. Their notion of fantasy is a very negative, pointed situation.
I was making fun of Banta, like for his limited fantasy. At least it's like him making something of himself. Like, you know.
True. We cut back to the garage and Jim shuffles in. And then the cabbies, of course, ask him about his fantasy. And we cut to Jim's fantasy. He's in his condemned apartment, the one that we loved with all the doors on one side of the apartment, the one where his horse Gary died. And he's laying there just doing whatever Jim does. And all of a sudden his windows fly open and a giant flying saucer comes down to his apartment through the windows.
No, it doesn't.
Well, we're meant to think it's terrible effects. It's basically just,
oh my God, it's a couple of
facade
flats with some shit glued onto it that they just lowered down outside with some like smoke pouring out of it and blinking lights. They didn't even bother to get searchlights and stuff to blast in through the windows to give us some idea that this might be real in any way, shape, or form. It's just, hey, we're sitting on a set watching another set get lowered down.
We're meant to believe that this is an alien coming to visit Jim. And this creepy disembodied voice announces that they're aliens and they want Jim to come back with them to their world. They say they've been watching Jim and know him well. They love him for who he is and understand him. By the way, side note, do you know who did the voice of the alien?
Was it Elaine?
No, it wasn't.
Then I don't know. And that was a guess.
It was Danny DeVito.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. They put like a flange or something on his voice to make it a little disembodied. They lay this thing on him. They say they love him. They know all these good qualities that he has, and they want him to come back to their home planet. And then a portal opens. Jim climbs in, says something like, "You guys look really weird." And then he takes off, and that's the end of his fantasy. Now, one more side note on this. A very personal side note on this episode, on this vignette. A 7-year-old HP saw this scene when it was originally broadcast, Father Malone. Now, I was not watching Taxi at this point. I missed the beginning of this episode, so I did not know that this was the cabbies' fantasies, that this was not really happening. So a 7-year-old me watched Jim get sucked into a UFO, and I thought this really happened on the show. I was surprised the following week when Jim was back. Like, I thought that's what happened on this show. Of course, he just gets taken away by aliens. That kind of freaked me out as a kid.
I like that even though Jim comes back and it all resets in your mind from then on, in the Taxi universe, aliens are a definite thing.
I just thought it was kind of freaky because there was really very little audience feedback. There was all canned laughter, but a lot of this is played without laughter. As the aliens are talking about how much they love Jim and how meaningful his existence is to them, it's beautiful on the one hand that these aliens love him for who he is, but it's very creepy and scary a little bit to a 7-year-old kid watching this. So I still have a little shadow of that impression that I had watching it some 40 some odd years ago. I can't shake that even now. It's weird. We're back to the garage, and now a tuxedoed Hervé Villechaize enters. Hey, it's Tattoo, everybody. He introduces himself to Banta, and then Banta introduces him around. Banta gives him the pictures back, and of course, Louis does his bad impression. Hervé tolerates it politely, but then confides in Alex that it stinks. End of part 1. That's the end of the first episode, everybody.
My favorite part of the 2-part episode is the female narrator who comes on and says, there's going to be more fantasies in the next episode.
In the second episode, after a quick recap of the previous episode, we're back to the garage. Now it's Alex's turn to reveal his fantasy. And now this is where it gets creepy. This gets downright creepy, Father Malone, because
you know why it's creepy? Because it's his fantasy.
Well, but his is the only one that gets sexual. That's what's creepy for me watching this. Because Banta's is about his intelligence.
Oh, no. I don't have a problem with somebody. If somebody said to me, hey, what's your fantasy? HB, there's a good chance if you ask me on a good day that it's going to be a sexual one in nature. So I don't blame him for that. I blame him for the clumsy fucking setup to get there. And then his greatest fantasy ends up being a fucking vaudeville joke.
Well, we'll get to that, but you don't think it's creepy that they're all sitting there hanging on his every word as he's talking about a schoolboy sexual fantasy in front of the whole garage? That's profoundly creepy.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
I thought it was very creepy. So Alex admits to the assembled cabbies that he finds it really difficult to fantasize. For maybe he's too pragmatic. He just can't. Something always gets in the way of him coming up with these fantasies. He's tried,
he is
but
a man who can only feel when he's falling out of an airplane. So
it's like the that Neil Diamond Behind the Music with Will Ferrell, where he killed a hitchhiker to get an erection. That's
exactly.
He says he's tried, but something always goes wrong somehow. Now we cut to his fantasy. He's driving a cab at night, and he picks up a radiant, gorgeous Priscilla Barnes. Who is Priscilla Barnes? Anybody know Priscilla Barnes? Of course, she was brought in as one of the replacements for Suzanne Summers on Three's Company.
Yeah, when she got in the cab and he said, where are you going? I expected her to say, take me to the Regal Beagle in Santa Monica, California, please.
She was in Mallrats. She had a little cameo there. She starts coming on to Alex almost immediately. And it seems like it's going pretty well, but then he hits his first snag where she admits to Alex that she's married. And then we cut back to the garage. Alex snaps out of his fantasy. The cabbies, now this is creepy. The cabbies are encouraging him to give it another shot. They're effectively saying, you know what? You're not trying hard enough to come up with this wet dream. Let us help you come up with something sexual that will satisfy you, Alex. You don't find that completely creepy, Father Malone?
I find the entire setup absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Just this notion that he can't fantasize. What is happening here on Taxi, HP? It now feels like we got time to kill, y'all, and we all want to go on vacation. What do we do here?
This particular fantasy is a bit of a reach, which is saying something because they're all pretty bad. So we cut back to his fantasy, and he is course corrected. Now she admits that she lied about being married, so he wouldn't come on to her.
There is a really creepy part in this segment, actually, but we'll get to it.
Oh, at the very end, you mean? Like the climax
No,
of it, so to
no,
speak?
not even the joke, not even the payoff of that. It's before that.
Okay. I can't wait to hear what you're referring to. But anyway, they continue to talk and she's back into it. She's coming on to Alex. Alex asks her back to his apartment. They're so distracted with each other with these amorous thoughts that he gets into a car accident and that breaks the spell again. So we're back to the garage, back to the drawing board for Alex. Now here again, Bobby now, it's almost like Bobby is giving him hypnosis to try and get him into the headspace of how to properly fantasize. He keeps advising Alex, well, just let go, or, anything is possible. It's so gross, man. So gross.
You don't understand that this doubled as the wraparound for a porn that was very popular at the time in
It feels like it.
42nd Street. Yeah.
Does feel like it. We cut back. Alex and Tawny are now in a fantasy version of Alex's apartment. They're laying by the fire. They're nuzzling. They're getting romantic. Turns out they make the point of saying, oh, it's a good thing that was just a minor fender bender. So again,
Why
Alex,
is
of
he
course,
having to correct anything in his fantasies? They're his at this.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, they're getting all hot and heavy. And as they're starting to, in Happy Days parlance, they're necking. They're literally necking. Tawny, the
This
woman,
is like a
mentioned.
Rodney Dangerfield joke overall. You know what I mean? Like I can't even in my fantasies, I'm not even good. Like in my fantasies, my wife is nailing somebody else. Like that's what this feels like.
It's true. It's true. Tawny mentions how warm and nice Alex is, and it reminds her of her favorite uncle when she was little. And he was also
And you
named
now know
Alex,
where this
too.
is going, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. It turns out her uncle was named Alex, and the uncle would take her out for ice cream. And it turns out that Alex is,
Rocky
in
Road
fact,
with a cherry on top. Oh no.
it is a vaudeville climax to the joke, but it's so fucking creepy. Like how he would come up with that in his own mind it boggles me. It boggles my mind to think how his mind works. That is the finale of his fantasy, that he is nuzzling his long lost niece. Ugh.
Yeah,
Now, what was the,
No, I don't have
you
any
were going
problem with any of that. The problem with that whole segment is as they're coming to this conclusion where they're going back and forth and she's telling facts about her young life, Rieger has nuzzled up behind her. He basically has a fistful of hair in each hand, and he's basically jammed his nose into her. He's just like sniffing and sniffing and sniffing. Like that didn't bother you, but like the weirdo fantasy, which means nothing, that is what he's fantasizing about. He needs to be on the scalp of whoever he's gonna fuck. It's really weird.
look, that was plenty creepy. You can't follow this with any sort of logic because it just falls apart. Like, why can't Alex have a normal? I mean, he's a man in his 40s, right? He hasn't learned how to properly fantasize about a woman by now. Doesn't make any sense.
This man who a few episodes ago was jumping into boxing rings and jumping out of airplanes and can't find enough thrills, can't fantasize something more than I want to fuck my niece accidentally. Whoops.
It suggests some darkness in Alex that maybe should go unexplored. So now, hey, it's Louis's turn
Oh
to
my
give up his
God.
fantasy, and this was not good. It's the
Same
great.
shit.
It is. It's the Great Depression, and Louis is the last rich man in the country. He owns the cab company. The rest of the cabbies are all destitute. They're dressed in rags and tattered clothes, while Louis is a fat cat with a cigar and a chapeau.
A
And
Hamburg.
was that what they call it?
Yeah, that's a Hamburg.
Oh, I didn't know that. Louis goes back to his mansion where a negligee wearing Elaine is waiting as his wife.
Okay, here's where the episode actually gets good. Can I just say? And you know what? I'm a pig. Got it. But she's in this skin tight thing, this negligee thing. It's amazing. That's all.
Gorgeous. You were complaining about the ill-fitting clothes in the last episode, and this
makes
more
up
than
for
makes
it.
up for it. Yeah,
Oh boy, doesn't it?
more than makes up for it.
And because because Marilu Henner is a good actress and realizes that this is like a fantasy thing, she's playing what she thinks Louis would want of her. So she doesn't walk at all. She basically just struts everywhere. And it's not only really funny, it's really fucking sexy.
Yeah. She tells Louis to reconsider firing you know who, but Louis, this all makes no sense.
Oh my
Louis
God. Yeah.
insists.
What happens here? I keep
This is
forgetting
bizarre.
this part.
I thought maybe Jim ends up being his butler and he has to fire Jim, and I don't know, something weird. But Elaine sends in this mystery character who's going to be fired, and it's Lassie, the dog. She is credited as Lassie,
One of them.
one of the Lassies, but it has to be said, very well trained,
Oh
because
my, yes.
Louis basically insists, like Louis tells this dog that she's not cutting it anymore. She's not popular. She's not as popular as Benji or Snoopy. And for that reason, she's got to go. Now, like I said, there's some great, like the dog begs not to be fired. It does tricks and it's a marvel. I love a good dog trick, but Louis ends up firing the dog and it leaves, and Louis' fantasy is over. That's literally it for Louis' fantasy.
You remember in the Great Depression when Lassie was no longer cutting it because Benji was more popular?
Benji was huge. We forget that now.
I know. I'm saying his fantasy takes place in like
Yeah.
1932, man.
Yeah, well, from one perspective, Louis' fantasy kind of makes sense because it's all about Louis being powerful, right? Being the most powerful man in the country. But I don't know why they felt the need to bring in a trained dog, like bring in one of the actual Lassies. It all is, unless somebody said, "Hey,
There
you
a
know what?
Lassie revival going on at the time? Was ABC trying to get Lassie back as a series, maybe? You know what I mean?
That would make the most sense." I can't tell you if that's the case, but it was all very confusing as a viewer. Finally, it's time for Elaine's fantasy. And as we mentioned up top, it's the best of the bunch. It's a low bar to get over, but it is pretty good. Surprisingly, though, Father Malone, it does not involve Tom Selleck. I was convinced that it should involve her mystery cab affair. You remember the
Oh,
one
I
that got away?
remember. I'm glad he's not here because he's too pretty. Get out of here, Tom Selleck.
So for her fantasy, we cut the garage is empty except for the cabbies, and they're all bored. They don't want to play cards. And all of a sudden, for no reason at all, Elaine starts to sing the lullaby of Broadway,
Great
which is
song.
from what movie? What famous movie, Father Malone?
The Gold Diggers of 1933.
Our listeners may not be aware. You've done a YouTube video on that very movie, have you not?
Oh yeah. I sure did. I've forgotten I had done it actually. But yes, Gold Diggers of 33. It is not my favorite movie of that period, but it's probably the most famous period. Well, the most famous movie from that period of musical.
So Elaine breaks into the song, and Mary Lou Henner singing the song. It's all done very Broadway style. The scene eventually, in fact, blossoms into a full-on Broadway style production where they're all singing and dancing with Elaine, including Jim and Louis come out. Eventually, they walk behind the phone pillar and they do this little special effect where they emerge on the other side, and they're all wearing tuxedos and canes and top hats and all that kind of stuff. There's colored lighting all around, framing the whole garage, almost like Christmas lights that are tracking and moving as they're singing the song. And then from up above, Mr. Mackenzie's office, Elaine comes down. And what is Elaine wearing, Father Malone?
Fucking tuxedo, man, without pants. And and it's open in the front, so we get cleavage as well. It's a dream come true, is what it is here at the end of this episode. It is a fantasy borough, finally.
It's right. It's our fantasy. It's the male fantasy of what should go on. But what's wonderful about this is now we actually do have like this is a fantasy kind of in the purest sense, where it's not about her winning something or getting something or achieving something. It's literally just her musing to herself how fun it would be to sing this song with all of her friends. And that's what we get. It's a wonder to behold. I mean, they're all, some of them aren't trained dancers, and it's obvious,
so-
but that's part of the charm. I've even in the Lovey's book, Christopher Lloyd talks about how much fun he had doing this because of his character. He could just kind of schlep his way through it and it would work because it's Jim.
Yeah, and it does.
It works beautifully. There's choreography, there's canned applause at various points that is all very Broadway. The capper of it all.
My
Sorry, go ahead.
favorite part during it is as they're winding up and they all start interacting more and they have to pick her up and turn her and set her down and stuff. You can hear Marilu Henner shouting the directions to them. Okay, pick me up. All right, be careful. Okay, turn me around. Okay, let me down.
It's great because it's almost like verisimilitude for her fantasy, because it's as if she's in this fantasy, but she still has to make sure that everybody else can hold up their end of the fantasy, right?
Yeah, Elaine wouldn't trust them anyway. We've seen
right.
that.
Yeah, she'd even she's like, okay, now train. And they cut to a dance step that she does with everybody. At the end of it all, Lotka comes out looking like Baby New Year. He has two sparklers and a top hat, and that's the grand finale of this whole fantasy. And as I said, as everybody looks like they're having such a blast with it that you as a viewer are taken, because it's a nothing. There's nothing of any real lasting value here. There's nothing that's going to make an impact, but it's so much fun to watch. It's great to see them all, because you get the sense that they knew that this was the end of the season and maybe this was part of the wrap up. So they're just having fun with it. And I had fun watching it. Anyway, that is the final fantasy, end of fantasy, and end of episode. By the way, my final side note on this episode, Father Malone, this is only one of 2 episodes of Taxi to ever forego Bob James's outro music. Usually they cut to the end credits and they play a little variation of Angela. You don't get this here. What you get is a reprise of Lullaby of Broadway as they go through the credits. So,
well, they fucking spent the money to record it. God damn it!
This is true. That, by the way, the other episode that does not feature his outro music is going to happen next season. So look forward to that. So that is the end of Fantasy Borough parts 1 and 2. Now we're going to talk about yellow lights, Father Malone.
What does a yellow light mean?
Reminder, this is going to be scored on a scale of 1 to 5 yellow lights, 1 being the worst Taxi episode, 5 being the best Taxi episode. Father Malone, our custom is to throw it to you first. So what do you give Fantasy Borough parts 1 and 2?
I give it here at the end of season 3.
2. Season 2.
Here at the end of season 2. 2 yellow lights for this episode. Not in any way for part 1. Instead, even with the baffling Alex fantasy, we get skin tight negligee and then tuxedo, therefore 2 stars or 2 yellow lights.
So it's all about Marilu Henner's wardrobe choices for you in the second episode.
That's it.
That's it. And that's fair. She looks great. I too gave it 2 yellow lights. It's a very thin premise to hang a 2-part episode on. And most of the vignettes, as I said, are terrible, but Elaine's sequence redeems it to a degree, and it's certainly worth the extra yellow light. So I give it 2. You give it 2 as well. So that's going to do it for this episode of Night Mr. Walters. And in fact, that's going to do it for this season of Night Mr. Walters, at least for the time being. Father Malone, where can the folks find you when you're not clocked into the garage?
You can find me over at Midnight Viewing. That is the twice a week show I do with the Weirding Way Media Network. I also do and I've got a Patreon show, patreon.com/Father Malone, where you can hear everything I do early and commercial free. But we also do a Patreon only show called Cable Box Theater that HP here and I do. We take a look at the filmed Broadway productions that they would show on HBO and Showtime in the late 70s and early 80s when there wasn't enough programming to go around. Not even musicals, like regular old drama.
As is my wont, I would encourage all the listeners to check out the weekly roundup from Father Malone. Father Malone produces a lot of content, so his Patreon is a great buy. For all the content you get and all the exclusive content you get, It's a great deal. But I love the weekly roundup. It's a great capsule view of the week, things coming out, new movies, new things on streaming. And Father Malone gives his take on all this stuff. And it's a great thing to look forward to every week. I look forward to it.
There's
So
a
check
David
that out.
Letterman joke every week.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. And I think everyone should check it out. So for myself, you can also find me here and there on the Weirding Way Network. I've sort of taken over the Noise Junkies show podcast. It's a music podcast, as you might guess from the name. Having fun with that. I'm also an occasional guest on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. And I also have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com. And as I've mentioned previously, I have a new album I've just produced and put out on that platform. I'm very happy. It's called Wired and Waiting. Please check that out. It's if you like 80s soundtrack type music of bad action movies, things of that nature, check it out. There's some other stuff on there, but very proud of it. Please give it a listen. It's free after all. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Please feel free to subscribe to this podcast, write a review or rate us. We'd love to hear from you in any way you see fit. So for myself and for Father Malone, thanks again for listening this whole season of season 2. And we look forward to more fun and shenanigans with season 3. Look for that soon. Otherwise, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Night, Mr. Walters.